Good afternoon, Facebook, and welcome to Bayou Land Conservancy's first Ask an Ecologist segment. My name is Suzanne Simpson. I'm one of two staff ecologists at Bayou Land Conservancy, and I'm hunkered down in my home today, which I'm sure many of you are as well. And we thought that a good way to stay engaged with you and to be able to appreciate this important time of spring in lieu of a lot of canceled events would be to start this Ask an Ecologist segment where you have an opportunity to ask us your nature queries that have been nagging at you and you've just never thought to ask. And myself and maybe even Becky Martinez can answer them for you. So we received a few submissions, and thank you to those of you that submitted questions. And let's get into it. The first question is one that I have gotten asked a lot over my career as an ecologist, and that is, why do cypress trees have knees? So if you've ever been around swampy areas in the southeastern United States, you've probably noticed that there are these trees that are really tall, green leaves, change colors in the fall, and they have these sort of protruding wooden nodules coming out from under the soil. And those trees are cypress trees. They're in the genus Taxodium. And ecologists and botanists for hundreds of years have wondered why these cypress trees have these needs. Obviously, it takes energy for the tree to create them, so it would be counterintuitive for cypress trees to have these structures and for them not to serve a purpose. So, um, it's an interesting question that has been tried and tested, and the answer as of now is we really don't know what cypress tree knees do. If someone has told you that they do know, they are not telling you the truth, because scientifically it has not been proven exactly what cypress knees do. There are a couple of theories and hypotheses that I'll go over just a couple of them. One is for cellular respiration. So cypress knees will appear mostly in trees that have some ephemeral or occasional inundation of water. So occasionally those trees are going to be covered at least partially in water. You don't usually see them as much in trees that are on dry soil, and you actually don't see them at all in trees that are in deep pond water. So a thought was that, hey, maybe these knees help with cellular respiration, they help with gas exchange, but since we don't see them in deep water cypress trees, and for a couple of other reasons, like they've studied the gas exchange properties of cypress knees, that has not been a proven reason for why cypress trees have knees. Another common one that I've heard is for structural support of the tree. So the tree is in these kind of like unstable soils, these really deep, kind of murky wetland soils, and so maybe they need some extra stability so that whenever the water comes in, the tree doesn't get, its root systems don't get weak, and it's not prone to falling over and dying. But that has not been proven either, in large part because the cypress knee structures don't form at the appropriate parts of the tree's anatomy to provide stability. So the prevailing hypothesis right now is maybe cypress knees are the appendices of trees, where evolutionarily they used to have a function, and whatever that function was is not relevant anymore, and so we see these knees and we wonder what they are, and they really don't have a function anymore, and they're sort of the appendix. So maybe that's it, but I think that this is something that's going to be studied for a long time because it's something that's so obvious and so unique to cypress trees, and people are always curious about what causes that. So, good question. Okay, next question comes from our very own Melissa Carter, which is, do squirrels poop in their nest? Well, that's a very good question, Melissa. The answer is that young squirrels will defecate in the nest, but the mom really takes one for the team, and she will actually remove the feces from the nest and put it somewhere else with her teeth, with her mouth. Um, and squirrels aren't the only animals that have that character trait. But this is to remove the scent of the babies from the nest, kind of mask it, and it's a really good strategy if you have an animal that is willing to take its child's feces in its mouth. And squirrels are just that dedicated to parenting that they will do it. Okay, next question is from Lauren Scheninger, and she says that she has a blue jay feeder that is filled with sunflower seeds and corn, but they don't seem to like it very much. So what food is best for blue jays? Lauren, so it sounds like sunflower seeds and corn, those are good. That's good food for blue jays. Um, so it sounds like the problem is probably less what you're feeding it. It may be that the blue jay is able to get a food source somewhere else that is easier for them, and so they're just not coming to your feeder. You can also try suet. I've heard of suet working with blue jays, and you can also try a different feeder and see if they like a different feeder better. But it sounds like you're on the right track. And after winter and then coming into spring, sometimes it takes birds a while to find their favorite feeder, and that may be what you're seeing right now. But you should be having some blue jays on the way. They're pretty common at feeders. All right, next question. Stephanie Wilson Pretorius asks, what animals eat the most mosquitoes, and can I have a few of them? Good question, Stephanie. I don't know about what animal eats the most mosquitoes, but I can tell you animals that eat a lot of mosquitoes include birds, bats, and frogs. And I will highlight bats for just a second because I live not far from the Wabridge, where we have a large colony of bats here in Houston, and those bats travel many, many miles every night, and they are eating thousands of mosquitoes every evening. So bats are a really important part of our ecosystem. I think we're all, as naturalists, starting to appreciate them more and more the more research comes out about them and the important function that they have in our ecosystems. But put a good word in for bats because they're doing the hard work of eating all your mosquitoes. Okay, let's see. Our last question is from Steve and Sandy Lentz, who ask, I haven't seen any raccoons, possums, or rabbits in my backyard lately like I did in winter. Where have they gone? So it's tough to answer wildlife distribution questions in an urban setting because so much changes all the time. The places that they get food and water and shelter are highly variant, and so with that, you'll see different distributions of wildlife. Some mammals also have a cyclical population where you'll see a lot of them one year and you'll see less of them in subsequent years. So that could be a contributing factor. But I would be interested to see if you guys see those animals in your backyard in summer, because in winter, animals are a little less active and they're bedding down, and you actually might be seeing them more if you have a good habitat area for them to take shelter in. In spring, it is like the frantic run on the grocery store that we are all seeing at our local HEB. And so it can sometimes be actually harder to see some of your usual animals in spring just because they're so darn busy preparing for, mating season. And these mammals in your yard in summer, and keep us posted and let us know. Okay, well, that is all the questions for our first Ask an Ecologist segment. We're hoping to do this pretty regularly during the COVID-19 social distancing, which I think is going to be lasting for a fair amount of time. So if you have a question about the outdoors, about wildlife, about nature that you've always wanted to know, please, you can message it to us. You can send us an email, info@bayouland.org, and we'll try to answer it on the next segment. So thanks for hanging with me, and we'll see you next time.